Welcome, Weekend Warriors. We made it. One more sleep till the start of the 2022 NFL season, and I could not be more excited. Can't stop talking about fantasy football, can't stop reading about fantasy football, and the commish is ready to defend his title. And for everybody else, I know you're ready to dethrone me, or at least knock me down a couple pegs. You're going to have to hear about me being champion for the rest of the season, but it's a fresh start. I know a couple of you, especially Pearson, bad taste in his mouth, ready to start the season fresh. So, and how fitting, the commission Pearson up against each other week one. We'll get to that one in a little bit, but for some new viewers, new and old, you know the drill. I'm going to be doing 2 NFL picks, 1 Thursday Night Football pick because I'm the Thursday Night King, and I will predict every matchup in our league. Last year I was 59%, which anything over half is good. And as well, I was even on my NFL picks, but I got hot at the end. So we're going to try to start hot, get hot, put me on Twitter. This guy's 8-1 to start the year, but it all starts with one game at a time. So the NFL season, it's exciting, and it's already, I got some notes here, it's already throwing people for a loop here in week one. Getting alerts about players. Chris Godwin's a guy I drafted. Is he going to play? If he does play, is he going to be productive? Is he going to be on a snap count? Do you throw him in week one? George Kittle all of a sudden, irritated groin on Monday, supposed to practice today. It's Wednesday, you don't know if you're going to have George Kittle. You know Kittle's going to get hurt throughout the season, but week one, you thought you'd have him. So, Chris T, I know you're probably a little upset about that. Alan Lazard, another guy, all of a sudden he got stepped on in practice, he's injured. Guys, week one hasn't even started yet, and we already have these storylines. So, it's going to be interesting. But I want to jump into the matchups. I want to tease some special guests. We are going to have some special guests on these show. We've had some big guests in the past, some people from our league, some people not from our league. So you'll see a couple weeks I got a special guest coming up I think you guys will be excited about. But jumping in right to the meat of the show. I know you want your matchups, and the first matchup on the slate is the replacements Otley versus Watson's Bath and Spa, which is Jake. Couple things I like about these teams since I didn't do a draft recap. Otley, he's going to kind of go as the Ravens go. He's got Lamar Jackson and Rashad Bateman. He does have Russell Wilson on his bench, which is pretty ridiculous. He also has Travis Kelce. And Dalvin Cook and Fournette are going to be a strong 1 and 2. A little bit weak at wide receiver is he doesn't have a clear number 1. He's got T. Higgins, Brandon Cooks, and Darnell Mooney. So I'd feel better if he had a better number 1. I'd also feel better if he had backed up Dalvin Cook without Alexander Madison, who his opponent Jake has on his squad. Jake, really solid running backs. Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, and Ezekiel Elliott. He's relying on those 2 older guys, Zeke and Henry, both being able to come back from injury and perform. And then, I got to be honest, we've had all our drafts now. I can tell you who I like and who I don't like. There's no games being played. I don't like wide receivers with bad quarterbacks. Deontay Johnson with Mitch Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, whoever they got throwing the ball in Pittsburgh. He's a little banged up with a shoulder. And then Lockett, been a model of consistency. But Geno Smith, I thought this guy was going to be out of the league like 4 years ago. Now all of a sudden he's a starter on an NFL team. I just can't believe it. That being said, Jake has depth and reinforcements. He has Rashad Penny, who I like on the bench. He has DeAndre Hopkins, who will be back at some point. So I do like the depth on his squad. For week one, I just think the matchups for Otley with his Ravens that I mentioned against the Jets, Dalvin Cook feasts against the Packers. Normally put him in your DFS lineup. See, this is the kind of info you get here from the commish. And I do think Cincinnati at home, Joe Burrow against Pittsburgh for Jake will have a decent week. And Derrick Henry at home against the Giants. You're going to see if this is a cake matchup for him, they're going to feed him the ball. But I think he's going to start out of the gate a little slow, personally. So I'm going to pick Otley over Jake here in week one to beat Jakey. All right, moving on. The Jefferson Memorial, that's Terry versus the Harding Dynasty Part 2. So Dean with the name last year, end of the Harding curse. Yours truly won. The Harding Dynasty Part 2. We're looking for a repeat here. But Terry had a good draft. He did take Jefferson early over Kupp, which I was a little bit surprised about. But, his only real question marks, I think, in his lineup are Travis Etienne with this whole James Robinson news. I like Etienne as a player, but will he be the guy, or will he be on the field enough to produce is a question. And Juju Smith-Schuster, he was like a top 5 wide receiver a couple years ago. Can he and will he be Mahomes' number 1? Personally, I like Juju as a sneaky pick this year. He's cheap, and as a wide receiver 3 for Terry to pair with Allen Robinson and Justin Jefferson, I like it. So Terry has a solid squad. Dean, on the other hand, when I looked at this 2 days ago, I was like, I don't know if I love Dean's team. And now looking at it today, I think I like it a little bit better. I'm not a big Najee Harris fan. I think he's going to have to get volume to get numbers. They're going to feed him, but they're talking about reducing his carries and his workload. Pittsburgh is going to have nothing to play for. I see a lot of 2-yard carries in Najee's future. I do like Aaron Jones, however. As the A.J. Dillon key main supporter, I like both running backs in Green Bay. And especially in a half PPR league, he's going to catch some passes. A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, and Adam Thielen. 3 big names. I don't like Metcalf, as I mentioned with Geno Smith, but Thielen is a huge value, I think, in this offense that wants to throw the ball. It's going to be him and Jefferson catching the ball. KJ Osborne will be involved. Our new great receiver in Jalen Reagor, he'll be involved. But I do like Thielen as a value pick. And then to pair that with Justin Herbert, who could be a league winner at quarterback. I don't like taking quarterbacks early, but Herbert is a good pick. I'm going to go with Dean to get off to a hot start. The Aaron Jones matchup in Minnesota when Green Bay has nobody else to throw the football to. Justin Herbert in a shootout against Vegas. I like Dean over Terry here in week 1. And also, Kyler Murray for Terry. I think he might get off to a slow start with some limited pass catching options there as well. So, moving on, I'm going to skip Chris and Brett. We'll tease that. We'll come back to that later. MJAZ, Malone, nice team name, versus Pearson's father. That's Kevin. Kev has been on record saying he does not like his team. And why I think it's better than he thinks, I think it's going to get off to a slow start. Trey Lance, I think, will be good. I don't see him setting the world on fire week 1. Another guy I'm not sold on is Jerry Jeudy. I'd much rather have Cortland Sutton. And I cannot stand Michael Thomas. The guy hasn't played football in 2 years. He's still somehow injured with the same ankle he's been injured with. And to boot, Breece Hall, another guy who I like and think will be good by the end of the season. I think Kevin, I got Chris Godwin as I think is going to start out of the gate slow. But I paired him with some guys I think are going to start out hot. I think Kev has too many guys that are going to start out slow. So maybe he'll be 2-3, 2-4. Maybe he can stay afloat 3-3, whatever, and then get hot and go on a stretch. But he needs to win some games early. So I'm concerned about that. Valone's ready for a redemption year. He's been talking about it. He's already in the weeds, looking at who spent one on the wire. He's the first guy to spend money on Fab this year, picking up Rachaad White. He is ready to go. He said this might be his best team across the board on all his teams. And I do like his team. 4 good wide receivers. Hollywood, Waddle, Debo, and Lamb. Going with maybe the best PPR. I know this is half PPR, but Austin Eckler, 20 touchdowns last year. Some regression is going to come, but he's the man there in L.A. Got Patrick Mahomes. If we're wrong about Mahomes, and I'm not a big Mahomes guy this year, but he's still Patrick Mahomes. He went like 4th or 5th quarterbacks in our league. If he's on fire and proves some people wrong, I think Valone will have a nice season. His only real weakness is Miles Sanders, but he does have Damian Harris, and he's got Gainwell backing up Miles Sanders on his bench. So, plus he's got Gallup on IR, who is going to come back at some point. I really like Valone's team. He's the heaviest favorite by ESPN so far on the week. Valone, I got you over Kev here in week 1. So let's go to the matchup of the week. I teased it. No, it's not me versus Pearson. Why would the first place versus the last place team last year be the matchup of the week? No, it is Chris and Brett, the first and second overall draft picks this year. I say it every year. Chris T has a good team. I don't know if he's had a team this good. Somehow we let him get Christian McCaffrey, number 2, come back and get Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. The fact that Diggs lasted that long is, I can't believe it. But then Chris did have a couple picks that I don't necessarily like. Kittle I wouldn't have wasted on. I know he's hurt now. Don't like him. Antonio Gibson, you got him very late. I give you credit for that. But my guy who got shot in the leg will be back at some point. In the meantime, Gibson's going to be good. So that was a little luck, fortune there for you, Chris. But Devonta Smith and Terry McLaurin as your wide receiver 2 and 3, that is your weakness, I think. And having Treylon Burks and Garrett Wilson on your bench, guys that could pop, but not guys that you could throw in and maybe necessarily get safety from, like a Thielen or somebody like that. So I think you have a lot of firepower. I like James Conner as number 2, but we'll see if you fizzle or if those guys can carry you. Brett is Mr. Dollar General draft of the season. Everybody who fell, he just took. Kamara coming back as the last pick in the second round is amazing. He's not going to get suspended, I don't think. I'm not a big fan. Then you came back and got Tyreek Hill. But to have Jonathan Taylor, Alvin Kamara, Tyreek Hill, pair them with DJ Moore, Cortland Sutton. Then you got Waller. I picked Dalton Schultz before Waller because the dude was holding in or whatever. He had the ankle. It turns out he's fine. Jalen Hurts, the sexiest pick in the league this year. Brett has a very good team. I think both of these teams are going to be very good. I am going to go with Chris and the upset in this game, and I'm going to tell you why. Because Thursday Night Football, Chris has Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs take the over 51.5. The Thursday Night King is back. I looked at the Rams at home. It was kind of like a Bills line, 2.5, but everybody loves the Bills. Take the over. Don't think about it. Just take it. Thursday Night Football, first game, football's back, go over. That's my Thursday night pick. I'm also picking Chris to beat Brett. Now, my matchup versus Pearson. Pearson, I liked what he did with Jamar Chase and Devontae Adams at the end of the first round. Having the last pick is tough. I'm not a big Devontae Adams fan. I think losing Aaron Rodgers is going to hurt him. But he still should be good in Vegas. He has Adams, Chase, St. Brown, and Gabe Davis. Probably the best wide receiver corner in the league. I love Gabe Davis. I wish I could have got him. I have him in 2 other leagues. Oh, and Pearson has Kyle Pitts. So where is he weak? Well, he's got Cam Akers and Dobbins, 2 running backs that might be coming out of the gate slow. I like to pair Dobbins or Akers with a guy who is has some more stability personally. But you're taking a shot, and I think he even said if one of them ends up being good, I'm happy. He also has Darrell Henderson for some insurance. He has Tony Pollard and Ramondre Stevenson, 2 guys that are lottery tickets, potentially league winners if their predecessor goes down. So I do like Pearson's team. I think it may start slow, fortunately for me. The source, I mean, there's no secrets now. Like I said, I'll tell you who I love. I love Javonte Williams. He's my favorite pick this year. I think he has a great schedule to start the season at Seattle. I think Denver's going to score a ton of points. This is not an official pick, but take the Broncos team total Monday night. A.J. Dillon is my weakest part of my team as running back 2. He's another guy who has an infinite ceiling if Aaron Jones were to get hurt. He's going to be fine while he's healthy. And then my receivers, I had to go Cooper Kupp. Somehow he fell to 7. There was no debate there. He's my guy. He won me a championship. Yes, I took my team from last year. Dillon, Brady, Kupp, Godwin, who I didn't have at the end of last year. But I love Godwin as a value pick. A lot of the guys I listen to on Twitter and other places, we don't want Godwin. He's injured. I've been reading. He might come back at Thanksgiving. All of a sudden, the guy might play week 1. He's going to be a slow starter. I don't know if I'm going to play him week 1. But Godwin's going to be a nice pick. And I really, really, really love Michael Pittman. I love Big Mike Williams. My only picks I'm a little upset about, Dalton Schultz. He's kind of just like blah. And Brady, I am concerned about. I took Brady if I could rewind with all these offensive line issues, with some other stuff. But still, if you're going to bet Tom Brady figures it out. So I'm going to take myself to beat Pearson. I do think Pearson has a bounce-back season. I think his team is built for the long haul. But I'm going to stay on my hot streak and get out to a hot start. My other pick for the NFL, this is not a homer pick. You do what you want. You say, you know what, Ty, you're picking them because you're a homer. Minnesota plus 1.5 at home against Green Bay. Minnesota gets up for Green Bay every time. Rodgers, I think he's going to be fine. He's Aaron Rodgers. Really banged up wide receiver crew. Not really sure what they're going to do to start out the season. I think they start out slow. I think the Vikings get a win. Green Bay might end up to win in the division, whatever. Minnesota, plus 1.5. Take it. It was 2.5. The money's coming in on Minnesota. Take it while you can. Guys, we are back. We're going to have recaps next week. Good luck in your first week, and good luck in your bets. Kamish out.